Hi everyone, in this video I am going to talk about commercial property management. If you already own a commercial property, then what are the management things that you have to do day in and day out, assuming that you have just purchased a commercial property? And if you have not, then this will also help you to understand that what are the ongoing things that you have to do. I can tell you because I own commercial property, and what are my first commercial property I manage by myself. So everything that I do, I would be able to tell you based on my experience what are the things that I am doing. So a full disclaimer, this one that I live in Sydney and this property is in Rockhampton. So it's not in the same city, it's in a different city. That being said, commercial property management is way less as compared to a residential property management. First of all, before I talk about the management, we need to first understand the triple net lease says not so triple net or the double net lease. Triple net lease where you can get like net. It means that all the expenses will be paid by the tenant, and that sometimes included the management fees. So if you have purchasing a commercial property where the tenant will pay even the management fees, it's better that you hire a property manager local who would be able to send the invoice and everything on your behalf, and you would be able to recover that manager's expense as well. Let's say 5% is quite standard, 5% plus GST. So most of the commercial property manager, they are going to charge 5.5%, but you are going to see that they are local, they know that, and they would be able to manage these things on your behalf. But what I'm actually going to talk about today is not those property manager. I'm talking about you can act as a property manager. You are not staying in that place. A full disclaimer is that the property needs to be straightforward. So in other words, my first commercial property that I talk about is a petrol station, but it's Sydney. I live in Sydney. It's in Rockhampton, but at the same time it is like a one lease, one tenant. Tenant pays all the outgoings including the management, but then tenant actually asks that hey, rather than putting a management and put that cost, can you do us a favor of just sending us the invoice and everything, and we will do. So we actually agreed because I wanted to see that that was my first commercial property. I wanted to see that what all management issues that comes in we need to check. Unlike residential property where there are a lot of things that we need to do, and there's a periodic lease gets to be renewed every 6 months, 1 year. They need to do some sort of a notice. There are certain things that you have to follow rules and regulations based on the RTA, Residential Tenancy Act. In commercial property is little different. So the commercial property manager, the first thing that you need to do is the invoicing. It means like in order to collect the rent, because the tenant is actually going to pay, but you still need to send invoice every single month. Commercial property rent is generally monthly. It means every single month on the first day of the month you will send the invoice, and rent is generally like in advance, and the tenant is going to pay. So this is exactly the first thing that I do for my property. Is the first day of the month I send an invoice about that equally monthly installment of the rent, plus if any outgoings that is coming. The way I play with the outgoings is whenever, let's say, council actually send us the rate notice, then I actually pay to the council, and then I also invoice them straight away, and then they pay us in our bank account. So this is the first thing that you have to do as part of your management. If you want to do it yourself, is that you have to send invoice. That means you need to know how to send an invoice. Remember, any invoice in Australia, it has to have a ABN number. It has to, and because you bought the commercial property, you have that ABN number, you're paying tax, it's registered to GST because you are collecting GST, all sort of things that you need to know, and you need to do it. Sending invoice is very straightforward nowadays. You can use even Xero, Mayo, all these kind of softwares, which is like monthly you need to pay $30-40 or whatever, and then you'd be able to send. Or you can just do manually, like create a Word document with some logos and everything, and put your ABN number and all, how much is the rent, and then create a PDF and send it to that invoice as well. It's very straightforward. I use a software because I have other businesses where I use the software, so I just sort of use this kind of invoices I send. And once I send that invoice, then the next work is to check the money has received. So I sent on the first day, and by 30th I check whether I have received or not. I think in fact I actually allocated couple of hours in a month where I send invoice, I check the previous month rent, I check if there is any invoice that comes through from like rates on insurance or anything that needs to happen. All the work that I do those 2 hours time in a month. So in a month 2 hours is more than enough in my opinion to do the management. So the first thing is sending invoice. Second thing is that making sure the money received to your bank. As part of the management, of course you are paying the mortgages, like you assuming you took the loan, you paying the mortgages, but that money is going out of your account predominantly from the same account automatically. So if you schedule it automatically, that's like a set and forget. Bank is going to take that money automatically because most bank, the mortgage payment is kind of a direct debit. The property that I bought is a petrol station. Because it is a petrol station, in petrol station what we get something called a SIRA report, SIRA report. What is SIRA report? It gives me, so every single month, how much petrol that they have actually put into the tank and how much they have taken out in the tank, and there is a report comes in, what all, how many liters that they are putting, how many liters. So that way the SIRA report tells me how their business is doing, and also tells me if there is any leakage or not. Why this is particularly for the petrol station is important, because if you see there is a leakage, or like let's say they put every single month they put like I don't know 40,000 50,000 liter fuel, but they are only getting like let's say 100 liter, there is a shortage, or 50 liter shortage. It's a significant concern, because that 50 liter shortage means there is a leak somewhere. If there is a leak somewhere, that fuel is going into the under the soil, and it can contaminate and it can create lots of problems. So if this happens, then you need to immediately pinpoint which tank it is and stop that tank, and you need to do the checks, and if there is a leak it needs to be repaired before you can put fuel again. Lucky so far nothing happened. It's the SIRA report is clean. It means that whatever fuel that they are putting, the same thing that is coming out, so I am okay. So that report is very, very important. So if you are planning to buy a petrol station, if you are thinking this is something that you will be checking, or this is something that you will be doing as part of your ongoing maintenance. This report comes every single month, so that means every single month you need to check, and you need to tell yourself or convince yourself that yeah, there is no leakage, good. And also you can check how much fuel that they're putting in, how much taking out, means what's their business volume is. Then you'd be able to gauge how much business that they're doing. The more they're doing is better. But as you know, the petrol station, they just don't make money just selling fuels. In fact, they make very less by selling fuels. They make more money by selling other stuff in the shop, which is like all the things that they sell. Think about yourself, when you go to a petrol station, you put the fuel and then you buy a drink, or maybe you buy something, and that is generally like they have a 30% 40% margin on that, rather than the fuel is, which is generally they get like 4 cents 5 cents profit. Sometimes they don't even get any profit in the fuel, but that way they attract, so they give a cheaper or the discounted rate, they attract more customers, people fuel, and then they buy stuff, which is where they make money. In fact, there are some petrol stations where they attract truck drivers. They said, okay, you take 1,000 liter, like fill up your tanks and all, and we'll give you free food or something. So that way these truck drivers, they're attracted to go to this petrol station. And this is one thing that you need to do, SIRA report checks, and making sure that there is no problem with this. This is an ongoing on the monthly things. The third thing that of course you need to do is the council rates. The council rates you will be receiving, or the land tax that you will be receiving. Land tax you get once a year, council rates you get in every 6 months. In Rockhampton commercial property I'm talking, so every 6 months once you get the council rate, then you need to invoice them the council rates. You also need to pay the council rate, or you can also do like you can ask them sending the invoice, or can you pay directly to the council, so that way you do not have to pay from your pocket. And this is the beauty of commercial property. Why you would take address for the council, because it is your property. I know that a lot of people, you might challenge that, in residential property I'll just ask all the rates to my property manager. And remember, in commercial property you are acting as a property manager. Assuming it's a one lease, assuming it's a straightforward lease, then that 4% 5% that the management fees you are paying, and that is also assumption that is cannot be recovered from the tenant, then why would you hire a property manager which can be easily managed by yours? My point is that if it is a like a very complicated lease, for example a retail shopping center or like a strip of shop, and then there is a maintenance fees and there is a strata fees and all sort of things you need to calculate and all, it makes sense to have a property manager, because every month there are certain amount of work that needs to be done, plus there are one tenant will ask something to do, another one there will be something that will also come. But if it is a standard like one industrial property or one property which is like one tenant, is just kind of a set and forget kind of things, like every single month you need to do certain things, and all the things that I'm talking about you have to do, and it's very easy to do it. So the council rates, I always prefer that I will get that council rates, I will get the insurance premium, I will get the land tax bill, and then either I will ask the tenant to pay or I will pay all these things upfront, so that way whatever discounts or anything that I get, I will get, and then I will ask the tenant to pay me with the invoice, because it also actually helps me to showcase later on if I sell my property 5 years 10 years down the line, to showcase to my future potential buyer, look, these are the outgoings that is been paid by the tenant, and look, this is the proof. Whereas if they pay directly, there is no proof, so you can always challenge them that okay, are they paying or they are not. Even though it is written on the lease, it's better to you make sure the money is coming to your bank account. The last but not the least is the maintenance of the property, particularly the inspections. I always prefer once a year you must go and inspect the property. Now my commercial property that I bought, it's coming to almost an year now, and which is why I have scheduled to go there and I would be inspecting. So in my future videos I am actually going to share with you how I did these inspections, what are the things that I looked into. Hopefully I'll be able to. In a nutshell, if it is a single lease, if it is a straightforward, and even though this management will be paid by the tenant, ideally you should be able to manage, which is why I am doing this, that I will be able to manage it effectively, and it doesn't need a third party property manager. Why? Because there is no Residential Tenancy Act, there is no kind of a if dispute happens in a commercial property, it is generally through the lawyer, and lawyer will be involved. And think about this, the tenant will always make sure that they are doing the business, they want to stay there, they will always pay the rent on time, because if they don't, then there will be consequence, they will not be renewed, or their lease is going to be a problem, and there will be breach notice, and all sort of things will happen which they don't want. Which is why commercial property is so lucrative, which is why the commercial property management is much easier as compared to residential. These are the things that I do as part of my commercial property inspections plus management. If you do something different, so put a comments below and tell us what extra things that you do as part of your commercial property management, especially if you are doing by yourself. If you are doing through a property manager, maybe ask what else do they do, why are you paying them 5.5%, that they do something different that you cannot do while you are there. Remember, commercial property, if there is a toilet blockage, if there is an electricity problem, if there is any other things, any management, if the aircon is not working, it depends on whose responsibility it is. If it is tenant's responsibility, tenants is going to fix it anyway. If it is landlord responsibility, then you can just send somebody in the local guys, have the relationship, aircon guy who can go and come and fix it, and that way it is everything fine. So you do not need somebody local unless the lease structure is complex, there are multiple tenants, there are kind of a strata involved and all sort of things. Straightforward one lease, easy to manage. I'm pretty sure that you would be able to do it. Hopefully you got some value out of it. If you like this video, please do me a favor, please subscribe my channel, turn the notification bell on so you get to see more videos like this, and it will also help me to reach out to more people like you. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.